Hello, welcome to the Reasonably Effective podcast brought to you by myself, Uncommon Fossil, and 10 Types. Why don't you say hello?
Yep. Hello.
And we are in this week now where Live was updated, which I get to finally fix the issue with Gardevoir EX with where you can attach to cards that recovered from the discard pile after at least a month and a half or not more or more. They fixed that, so that's good, and we're waiting for another update that's coming a week later to see what they do, which we have no idea at that point. So besides that disruptiveness, Pokemon's been okay for me. I'm trying to figure out what to play. I'm a bit of a funk there, just trying to figure out what to play, but come up with some
Cast form.
play cast form.
Yeah, just play cast form.
Just play cast form all the time. It is a good deck, if you got to retreat Pokemon, look at those challenges. Always reroll, get free retreat cost, retreat Pokemon, play cast form. So how's your week been going?
It's been going okay. Live isn't in a great spot, and the Pokemon meta is a little bit boring right now too. But in terms of like live being bad, I do have saying I have a fix to it is a bit of an exaggeration, but I have something planned coming up for. Hopefully, it'll be out this week. It's a video you all want to watch. Hopefully, it does well. But we'll see. But Live's like not in a great spot. Unfortunately, like I played expanded and just like you can just crash the game and then win. So I did that. I haven't been playing that much Live. Like I have the cards in the battle pass I need. I am running kind of low on like resources, but I've used around half my resources from migration, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's just be careful. Obviously, you get a lot of resources if you've been playing for a bit when you migrate, which is good, but you can burn through them quickly, and you don't want to find out in a set or two that you can't play stuff. But I mean, look, the meta's not terrible though. There are options out there, but sometimes it's hard to come up with what to play, right? Still. But so in terms of what to play, right, today we want to talk about the Vstar Pokemon, which is always a good thing to think about what to play. We have all 36 Vstars are still in format. Well, 35 Vstars. We talked about the issues with Live. One of them is banned right now, which we'll make note of that when we get there. But they're all around for over a year, almost 2 years. And they're solid.
In the future, they're going to be around, right?
From the time of this recording, you can play them for over a year. It's worth. So they're right. We have plenty of time to play with them. They're a true prize Pokemon averaging about 270 HP. They're a solid option still for a lot of decks to be built around.
Yeah, and speaking of the HP, the low is 240. Really like it doesn't get. It's generally 260 to 280.
Yeah.
And the high is like 300, I think.
Yeah, I think there's one at 300, and generally 260 to 280. 270, 280 is where I like to see a Pokemon at. But it probably
doesn't. I like to see it at like 3,000, but
Yeah, in reality though, I don't know that 260 makes a big difference than 280. So
yeah, but when you start getting down to like 250, 240, it can cause problems, and obviously getting up to 300 is a big deal. But they pretty much all are being like two-shotted by stuff or one-shotted by stuff. So. But let's just hop into the first one. And I think we're going to be looking at these both on how good they are competitively and just playing it and stuff, as well as how interesting they are. The first one here is one that both you and I have played in the favorite deck, Beefeon. Also, I hope we're in the same order here. We should be, but I had some issues with it beforehand. No idea what was happening there, but just live being live, I guess, because it was showing up in a different order. But anyway, so... We got Leafeon Vstar here, Grass Vstar, 260 HP. With this attack, Leaf Guard 180 for Grass Scratch colorless, and then you take 30 less next turn. And then also an ability. Okay, so I guess we kind of glossed over the Vstar powers, which are kind of like the most important aspect of them.
Right.
It's essentially a GX stack. You can only use one Vstar power per game. And sometimes there are abilities and sometimes there are attacks. Obviously, if they're abilities, they're an ability that you like activate. It's not like a passive ability. So, Leafeon Vstars is essentially boss rush. You just gust your opponents up. And this one is solid. Also does a Leafeon V that accelerates energy, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, just the order we're going through, which hopefully works, right? The deck builder in Live is a bit clunky, but kind of ideally in release as they've been released from oldest to newest, but it starts with the special releases are grouped at the beginning. So, but Leafeon was one of the first to come out. We both played it. I like it. 180's fine for damage. It's kind of the same as Arceus Vstar. Arceus Vstar is just a good comparison. It's a strong Pokemon, I think. No, I don't think that's a spoiler for anyone. So 180 is what Arceus does with a double turbo. Taking 30 less damage is okay, although that's just directly worse than Goodra Vstar, which we'll get to. Right, it does less damage.
Yeah. And there's less.
Yeah, sorry. Yep. Thank you. So yeah, I always get that. Shorten it there, and you always correct me. So that's just a better attack, right? So it's not as great as it used to be. The V-Star power certainly is useful. Boss without supporter, but you probably have better V-Star power options. If you want it for the V-Star power, it's not bad. And the V, as you said, is useful.
Yeah, I think this one's kind of like whatever. It's seen play. Its V-Star power is okay in certain situations, and there are decks that like run the V and then check in the V-Star because why not? I remember like Sylvia and VMAX played Leafeon V-Star sometimes, which is kind of cool. But I don't know, not too much interesting. It's been outclassed. It's like it was one of the first V-Stars as well as Glaceon, which we'll talk about in a second. And Leafeon doesn't really have anything that interesting.
No, and you could, if we're playing a Leafeon VMAX deck, you could toss in a Leafeon V-Star for its V-Star power, just to supplement the deck, but you weren't usually attacking with it. So it's okay, but there's better things around.
Oh, and also, I guess we should also talk about the tools that provide V-Star powers. Notably, Force Steel Stone's really good. Just allowing you to search for any card as an ability. So decks that could play some random V-Star would rather just play the tools instead of having to run a whole evolution line because you can use the V-Star power on a basic with the tools. So, Leafeon hasn't seen too much play. But then next up we have Glaceon V-Star. This one's okay. 180 for Wadwar Colorless. Again, same 260 HP.
Yep.
And then the defending Pokemon can't retreat. This is like worse than Leafeon's, but stopping retreating isn't very useful.
No, there's people are playing enough switch cards usually that's not an issue. Back when it first came out, you still had Air Balloon that was a go-to switch option for a lot of decks. So then it stopped that from working. And then it's V-Star.
I feel like if it's not good with like stopping from retreating, it's kind of silly. Like it's not ever gonna trap someone forever because like it does 180 damage. They're gonna die. And like they probably aren't looking to get that Pokemon out of the active. Anyways, like maybe if your deck, like say, Rhydon Regieleki, this would be good against it. You can gust up the Regieleki, trap it, and then two-shot it, which is okay. But it's not that impressive.
No, I mean obviously you could boss something up that's tanky, and get it stuck there for a couple turns. But you probably if you're gusting something up, just want to knock something out instead. So the attacks, I think it's probably not even as good as Leafeon V-Stars, and then the V-Star powered for 3 energy. I mean, it is water type. It works with Melanie, so that's a plus towards it there. But Crystal Star is the V-Star power. It's an attack, does 220, and then during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage and effects done to this Pokemon, which could be good, but obviously if you get switched out of there, that goes away. And there's a number of attacks that kind of have a significant aspect of that tankiness in without using up your V-Star power. So I don't think it's super great, the V-Star attack either.
I think it's okay. Again, you can put this in like a Glaceon VMAX deck as well. But it is kind of okay. And then I'm trying to think, I thought there was something else I wanted to say about it, but not really. It's kind of whatever.
It's a Pokemon. So I think move on to the next one here. We have Zeraora V-Star 270.
Oh no,
now our order's out of sync
somewhere. I don't have Zeraora V-Star. Wait, it's not showing up.
All right,
I'll just look it up.
So I think it should be next in the order.
Oh, because it's in Crown Zenith. This also. Oh wait, okay. I figured out why our order is different. Because Zeraora's V-Star was both a promo and in the Crown Zenith, and apparently I have it from Crown Zenith.
Oh, you own a copy of it, whereas I don't own a copy. So that's okay. So that's messing with our displays, what we own or don't own. So it is a promo. So we'll keep it now. I think so. It's 270 HP, so 10 more than the previous two. So kind of the probably the most common number. Free retreat cost, so that's nice. So let's see. The attack here, crushing beat 190 for 3, which is fine. And then you can discard a stadium for play. A good option is nothing earth shattering. So 190 for 3 is okay, but I think there's better options for that. Let's see the Vstar power. Honestly, I don't own own it.
Okay, I'll tell you. I've seen this played. I haven't played this, but you choose one of your opponent's Pokemon 4 times, and then you do 60 to them for each time so you could do like 120 and 120 or 60 to 4 different ones. It's okay. It's kind of interesting. I've seen this. So there's a Zero Hour VMAX as well, which is actually pretty all right. There's a time when Lightning Weakness was super good, so this actually saw a tiny bit of play, but it's again pretty generic, I think.
The V-Star power is interesting, right? You do 60 damage 4 times, spread out however you want. So that's interesting.
It's like one of those attacks that like messes up Mad Party.
Yeah, right. And you could put 3 on 1 or something.
But like if you're doing like 180 with your V-Star power, that's not very. Even if you just did like 240, a 240 snipe's good, but it's not like completely broken.
No, I mean doing like what 120 to 2 is much better. It could be better than the 90 to 2 for Radiant Greninja,
which is a basic Pokemon that you can power up in 1 turn.
Yeah, this is 4 energy instead of 3, and the other's 1 prize for. So I get it. So it's interesting, but probably not. You have better options, I would think.
Next up, what? Deoxys?
I have Deoxys. Yes.
I also have Deoxys. Let's go. So this one is interesting, I guess. It does 190 to the active for Psychic, Colorless. And it does 60 snipe to 20 opponent's bench to Vs. That's not bad, honestly, of all the attacks we've looked at so far. Like regular attacks, this is like all right. It's not bad at all. Like if you so people don't play basic Pokemon Vs much now because they evolve them. But against I guess something like Zacian, you do 190 and do 60 to one of the bench ones, and then you gust the other one up, and then you KO 2 across 2 turns. That's pretty solid. And then Star Force, it does 60 for each energy attached to both actives. So I can hit pretty hard. It only is 1 energy, but of course you're probably looking to have more. Theoretically, this is interesting in like various psychic energy accelerating decks, which are very common.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it's only like okay. There are a lot of like generic psychic V-Stars, and this slots perfectly in. And there's also Deoxys VMAX. So that's a thing that exists.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't if you're playing Gardevoir and you didn't need a V-Star power, you could obviously easily do, as the game goes on, huge damage with 1 Star Force, 60 per energy, which you just accelerate as much as you need to and blow up whatever you have. So that you could do that. 190, 60 to a bench V is good. Now, its Vs are less.
It's not that good.
It's
okay.
And it's worse now because the number of EXs keep growing and the number of Vs keep diminishing in terms of play, right? We're not going to lose any Vs this year, but people are going to just play them less because they'll pick up the EXs. So that Psychic Javelin reduces. So 190 is kind of, around that range is kind of the generic V-Star damage level. So.
Yeah, I'd say the range, numbers I kind of want to hit is I want to be able to one-shot a V, and you can do it for Jaxus and Zero or with the Choice Belt, but they're still, I don't know. You're really looking to hit like 220 or something.
Right.
Or also be like an easier, I'd say you want to be able to one-shot a V for 2 energy also. Getting 3 energy is awkward. It can be.
Yeah, I mean, compare it. I know you like to make fun of it. But Miraidon EX for 3 energy, the same amount of energy cost, does the 220 number you want without any other help, right? So it's a basic, you don't have to evolve it. So that's just a better attack than most of these V-Stars are getting, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, these are just like promos, so they're not huge deals. But next up, I'll let you lead.
Okay, so Lucario V-Star is what I have next.
Oh, wait, no, I have another one. I have an extra one.
Am I missing one?
I have Cleavor V-Star.
And what's the number on that one?
I don't know. It's a
Cleavor's 249. This is 214. Wait, this is out of order, Lucario too. But
it's out of order. What is happening?
I don't know, but it should have been earlier in the list. We could do. Which one do you want to cover?
Let's do Lucario.
Okay, so
So yeah, it does 120 for fighting colorless. And then if your opponent's actives a V, it does 240. So this is if you do a fighting plus double turbo can one shot a V, and then or a
right.
star here. Oh, and by the way, all Vstar powers have the word star and or um star somewhere like within their attack or ability name. And it does 70 feature energy attached to all your opponent's Pokemon. So that's actually pretty strong. It's like a good
Yeah.
counter to Arceus.
Right. There are a number of decks that like to get a lot of energy into play. Archie, obviously, so it's useful there. And yeah, it does. If your opponent's playing a V, then you can one shot their basic V with the first attack, which is obviously something we talked about being important. So, in fighting, being a fighting type is a useful weakness to hit too. So, it's it's not a bad one. It's maybe the best attacker we've hit so far.
Yeah, but again, pretty generic here.
Yeah.
And then Cleavor is again it has 270 HP, fighting type. It does 120 and then 60 to one of your opponent's bench V for fighting colorless, which I like more than Deoxys because like it does less, but it's less energy.
Right.
And I feel like it does enough damage. It might come up short sometimes. And then Rampaging Star is actually really good. Like I've seen this card played just for the V-Star power. It does 30 to each of your opponent's Pokemon. 30 for each of your Pokemon in your discard pile. So it's like a super mad party. That's actually good.
Right, for each. Yeah, so it's right. It's like Wormadam or something, right? But it does 30 instead of that's 20 per. No, it's 10 per. Right?
Wormadam's 10. Yeah.
10. So it's
yeah. Cleaver can like one shot stuff though.
Right, because Mad Party is limited to just ones with Mad Party. This is for any Pokemon, so it's more comparable to Wormadam, I would say. But it's obviously doing 3 times instead of 1 time, so that's a huge difference. For one
I think
energy,
I've seen this in Zoroark decks, because they get like tons of Pokemon that discard. But.
Right, you can get it. You power it for 1 energy, so you could toss it in. I think the first attack, 120 plus 60 to a bench V. I'm not getting excited about that. Rampaging Star, I can see having maybe a copy in a deck, but again, it's pretty niche what we're talking about so far.
Yeah. And then Dragonite Vstar, is that next?
Well, I have Shaman Vstar. Is Dragonite?
What? No, Shaman. What?
All right,
Shaman's in the regular set.
Well, Dragonite's in Go. Oh, see, I have a. Oh, I don't know. It's showing up later because it came out in Go for me, but I don't own it. But you're right. All right.
Well, I don't own it either.
So so whatever. It's showing up different. I called up Dragonite, so let's do that.
Okay, so it does 250 for 4, but it's water, lightning, colorless.
Yeah.
And its attack is it like accelerates energy, from the top of your deck, with this attack. I think Dragonite
V-Star power.
Yeah. I think it's notoriously bad because it's like worse than the V.
Well, and also you didn't mention with the first attack it does 250, so that's good. That's one shotting a V, and with Choice Belt it gets to 280, it can one shot a V star, but it can't attack the next turn. At 280 in the weakness, you might not be getting knocked out, but you can't attack now, so that's not great either.
Yeah.
And then the V-Star power is an attack, which accelerates energy. Look at the top 12 cards of deck. Attach any number of water and lightning energy you find there to your Pokemon any way you like. So you need a deck then with a lot of energy or a way to stack your deck. But using your attack to accelerate energy, you're giving up a turn, right? Your opponent get ahead in the game, potentially in the prize race. So it's not great, probably, in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's bad. I don't think there's too much to say about it. Okay, what do you have next?
Then I go back after Cleaver. Then I have Shaman.
Where's Charizard?
Then I have Charizard after that. Oh. Okay, so you want to do Charizard?
Oh no, Shaman. I don't. What is? Okay. So Shaman. You tell us about Shaman. It's your boy.
It's my boy. All right. So it's 250 HP. So a low HP. So not. So now the HP is a bit of a concern here. At 2 attacks, Revenge Blast for 2 energy. Grass Colorless does 120 plus 40 more for each prize card your opponent's taken. So it's not a bad option for as the game goes on. I put it in decks trying as a late game comeback card. And then Star Bloom, it's an ability. During a turn, you may heal 120 damage from each of your benched grass Pokemon, which is I don't know why it doesn't heal the active. It would be better if it did, certainly. and I don't feel like it'd be overpowered if it healed the active too. So I wish they had done that to make it a little more viable. I put
I
it.
feel like I don't like the fact that it's V-Star power. Like, it's an interesting V-Star power, kinda. It's still bad, but it's interesting. But then its HP is so low; it doesn't have any synergy with itself. I mean, healing's the opposite of what you want to. I guess it can help you hold on at the very end of the game is kind of the idea, but
Right, you want your opponent to take
that-
prizes to get your attack to do more, so healing doesn't quite synergize between the V-Star power and the attack. Yeah, it's questionable. What's nice about it is when I've played it, and it wasn't great, I will admit that, but it's only a 2 energy one, which a lot of them are 3, so you can, with a Raihan, power it up in 1 turn, and you want it to, and after you want to use it after you've been knocked out because it does more damage then. So it's an option to one-shot multi-prize Pokemon later in the game, but it's not great.
yeah. And then we have Charizard, the Pokemon. And yeah, this one's okay for fire colors. It does 130, but if I have damage counters on it, it does 230, and it does have a pretty large HP of 280. It's V-Star power for 4 fire colorless, 230. Then you discard 2 energy from it. These are both okay. Keep in mind you have Magma Basin, but
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of awkward. I say this is like borderline viable, and that's kind of how it stayed for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 copies of it. I'm looking at the card because I do like fire decks. I'd like Magma Base, and I still do. Obviously, that's easy to get the damage on it, as well as accelerate energy, so you can attack on your second turn with Charizard V-Star for 230. So you're one shot taking out a V Pokemon and then hitting 230. Hopefully you don't get knocked out, and then you just attach more energy and do 320 damage, knocking out even a VMAX. So it could be useful, but it's been not overly successful for myself, and I think for other people also.
Yeah. Sorry, Charizard, not today.
No, but there's a lot of bad Charizards. There are some good ones. This is an okay one, I think, in the mix.
Yeah.
All right, now next I have Whimsicott V-Star. Is that line up for you too?
Yeah, I do in fact also have that.
Okay.
And I'll say what it does real quick. It pretty much the 160 psychic colorless. Also, this one is lower with 250 HP, but and then it makes your opponent not able to play tools or, more importantly, special energies next turn.
Yep.
Which is good. And then V-Star power psychic, but for each psychic energy attached to this Pokemon, you do 60 snipe to anything. So yeah, this can be very powerful.
Yep.
Kind of like Deoxys V-Star or Zeraora V-Star. And then I don't know. This one definitely saw some play, but it wasn't the best.
Well, it right early on when it came out, at some point it was successful in IRL play, right? I don't remember if it won a tournament or came close to winning because of that trick wind attack, keeping your opponent from attaching special energy, I think was a big part of it. But then once people get used to it, you know how to counter it. You start to put a card or 2 in your deck, and it's not effective. And then 160 is just not enough damage if you're not actually stopping your opponent from developing their board state. And
I think it's an interesting tech option, though. Because we're gonna take a look at some other tech options, but something like, say, Flying Pikachu VMAX is a tech option. I think Whimsicott kind of fits in that same vein. But special energy just isn't great right now, except for with Lugia, which we'll talk about later. But that doesn't play it directly. I suppose it's okay against Mew VMAX.
Yeah, Mew's what I would think of, right? Because obviously, obviously not Art Lugia because they're accelerating, not from hand. But then you also have reversal energy that's getting played more, so if that gets more play, or if Lost Box wants to play Jet Energy, it stops stops them from making that happen. So it could go in a Gardevoir deck as like a second as an option if it falls right.
Yeah, I think it's worth playing and messing around with. I mean, I haven't, but I think it is.
Yeah, it's worth keeping in mind. Next, I have one of the best V-Stars around, and that's Arceus. Is that where you're at too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'd say it's one of the best Pokemon ever, or V-Stars ever. It's pretty bad, but no, yeah. Arceus is really good.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was the first. It was from the first set of V-Stars, and it was one of the best. That just kind of makes it the standard. So 280 HP, which is the number you kind of generally want with a V-Star. Its Trinity Nova attack does 200 for 3 colorless. Now, a lot of times you attach a DTE, so you're doing 180. But at 200, you're not knocking out a V anyway. Although it takes you so with Choice Belt, you're not knocking out another V either, usually. But besides to 200 or 180, which is a solid number, you search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon V any way you like. So it makes this a very versatile card. You can have a lot of Arceus box options, Arceus Plus, whatever V you want, V-Star, V-Max, or just basic V. So I've used it a lot. I'm pretty sure you have too. And then the V-Star power is tremendous. It's an ability, Star Birth. During your turn, you can search your deck for up to 2 cards, any 2 cards you want, you put them into your hand. So that really gets you going one turn, gets you the exact cards you need to make a turn happen. So it's a very nice card.
Yeah, honestly, I've seen, of course, you said like toolbox decks, but I've also seen it just as a attack, like a 1/1 Arceus in stage 2 decks, because it just helps you set up.
Yep.
I don't like in Meowscarada specifically usually plays a 1/1 Arceus, which is just crazy. That like it can't even I mean it can attack with it, but it's not that useful. But it's just really interesting that it's so strong. Because it searches anything, and it's like so versatile. It's like really, it's fun and cool and good.
Yeah, and well, and you could use it straight up. You played Arceus and Teleon back before rotation, where you're just attacking with Arceus basically. And you have Sharon's Care, so you can put your colorless Pokemon with damage into your hand. So it can be a tanky deck. Hopefully, you're not always getting one shot. You hope you're not. And then you can just take that Arceus with damage on it out of play. It goes into your hand. So then if you even just have a V with 1 energy on it, then you evolve it with what you pulled up and lay down the second energy onto it, and you're all set up for your next turn. So, there's options with the card.
Yeah. But I don't think there's too much to say about it that hasn't already been said.
No.
Other than, it's good.
It's good. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Next, I have Hisuian Lillian Vstar.
All right. I have Darkrai Vstar.
No, Hisuian. See, I'm right this time. I'm right. Hisuian Lillian's before Darkrai.
All right, I have to find it. Oh, it's like 4 or 5 down the road for me. Okay.
I don't know how this works.
I don't know why.
Weird.
I own a copy, but I don't know.
But it's not. And then it should be... Okay. So Hisuian Lillian Vstar is actually one of the most hype cards from the set that did not do too well. But for Grass Colorless, so 3 energy, you do 130, but you can return energy from this Pokemon to your hand to do 230. And then your V-Star power just lets you search. Its ability lets you search for 5 either grass Pokemon or grass energy, any combination. And people were expecting this to be good with Gardenia's Vigor because everyone was thinking it was the new Welder. And that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the attack's not bad, actually. I've never honestly given any attention, so that was one of the things I was looking forward to. Is there anything I would want to try out? I'm not sure this fits that bill or not, but 130 plus the ability to do 230, then you're one-shotting another V or a basic EX usually. So I kind of like that, right? It has some viability. Of course, the HP's low for the V-Star, but Parallel Spin's not bad. And I obviously I still want to try out Gardenia's Vigor and make it work once in my life. I haven't gotten that yet, so but it's not great, I guess, is really the reality.
Yeah, I think the other use I mentioned Meowscarada EX earlier, and it played Arceus. Sometimes it plays the Hisuian Lillian instead, but yeah, it's whatever. So then I guess we'll talk about Darkrai.
Yeah, so now we're getting into a Pokemon. One of the ones that sees some play. I mean, Arceus obviously has seen a lot of play. 270 HP, Dark Pulse for colorless. Colorless does 30 damage plus 30 more for each dark energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So with a dark deck that you really just want to flood the board with energy, which, who doesn't like to do that? And you do have Dark Patch to help accelerate, can get up there. So it's what's the same? Is it the same damage as Shadow Rider VMAX, or it's slightly off?
I think it does. It does. 30 less.
Okay.
I believe. But like Dark's a very good type. It's been a very good type since Darkrai's been in format.
Yeah.
because you have like Galarian Moltres and Galarian Moltres V
Right.
and Dark Patch came in the same set. And then we
Hmm.
can talk about the V-Star power, which just is an ability that lets you recover 2 items from your hand, from your discard pile into your hand. Honestly, I think this is amazing because it's good. It's not good as early as Arceus, but it's very good like late, and allows you to accelerate more energy with Dark Patch. So it's a very strong V-Star, although it does kind of struggle to one-shot stuff, which is like what you kind of want to do.
Right. It takes time to get those energies into play, but if you get them spread around eventually, I'm not sure. Maybe you can get there. I haven't played around with it myself, but it is tempting as a Pokemon. So it's got some viability, is what I'd say.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
then
then next up, Palkia.
what about Hisuian Samurott?
Okay, yeah, Assyrian Samurai V-Star. Yeah, you read it off, I guess.
All right, so yeah, I'm not sure what so 270 HP, so that kind of typical range here. A dark type again. Merciless Blade does for 2 dark. Merciless Blade does 110 plus if your opponent's active Pokemon already has any damage counters on it, it does 110 more damage, so it does 220 then. And to make that happen, it's got its V-Star power, Moon Cleave Star. During your turn, you may put 4 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So that gets you to 220 plus the 40 if you use the power, gets you to 260, which of course probably just misses out on knocking out your opponent's V-Star. But
Yeah, but then you can do it. You can do a choice belt in one shot
right.
V-Stars. I think the big issue is okay. It had Galarian Zigzagoon, so you
Yeah.
could put damage, and it was actually all right. This one you played a lot of Turnus. What V-Star did you play? Or did you not play any?
Eternatus, I generally didn't play V-Stars with it quite, or honestly, there was yeah, I didn't play a lot of V-Stars with Eternatus.
Okay, I've tried it with both Samurai and Darkrai. I don't know. They're both like kind of okay. I think Assyrian Samurai's interesting. It's kind of like Sableye V, which like just hits lots of damage if they already have damage on them. In some ways, it was actually very good in that deck. So I think it's interesting. It's a really like unique one. But I don't know. It's like it kind of struggles, especially in current standard. It can't really do much because you can't really put damage counters on your opponent's active.
Yeah,
But I'd say it's an okay one and like worth messing around with. It comes up short a bunch of the time as well.
yeah. I mean, when it came out, you had Goon, like you said, with Net to make that happen, and you also had the Italian engine to get the cards and the Italians to ping with. We still have the Italians to ping with, but because you don't have the Drizzles to search, there's not much incentive to play those Intellions. So it just makes it tough to pull off, I think. All right, so
yeah.
So it's okay. So I get Palkia next, which is what you wanted to do, right? So we want to do that now?
Yeah. So Origin Form Palkia V-Star. Also possibly the best V-Star. It's seen tons of play. For 2 water. Okay, so it's essentially Suicune V, but like better. So for water on obviously the V-Star, you do 60 but 20 more for each bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponents. Maxing out at 260, assuming full benches by both players, which is very doable, especially with something like Echoing Horn. You can increase their bench a bit more. And then Star Portal, an amazing ability. During your turn, you may attach up to 3 water energy from your discard pile to your water Pokemon any way you like. This has made a big splash in the current meta. That was really, really bad. But yeah, no, it actually has because with Chen Pao EX, where you want to get like water energy in play, specifically sometimes from the discard, this is amazing. And it's just like naturally very versatile, allowing you to power up stuff like Radiant Greninja. And it hits hard and is very simple. When I said you want to be able to like one-shot Vs for 2 energy on V-Star, this is like the prime example. It's just the most straightforward and just good V-Star with enough versatility to make it scary to deal with in various matchups as well.
Yeah, it was obviously a huge deck when it first came out. Kind of fell off a bit with Lugia with some later decks, but now it certainly made a rise going into the Chen Pao. So it's a very strong, very, very strong card is what I'll say. So I haven't played as much as you have, but even I know that it's quite good. So it is potentially it's in that race for best V-Star Pokemon, I would think.
Yeah. And then next up, another really good one, Hisuian Typhlosion Vstar.
Okay, that's not what I have. I have a good one also, but go ahead.
Okay, so Hisuian Typhlosion Vstar. I was actually mentioning this one to you before the podcast. But first of all, it's 260 HP, 180 for Psychic Colors. Put 3 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon any way you like. That's very generic, very whatever. Not awful, but not great. But then we have this amazing V-Star power for 1 Psychic. If your opponent's active has exactly 4 damage counters on it, they're just KO'd. This is technically like it's the same as Evolta V-Star, which was a basic, which is actually good. So I think his Typhlosion V-Stars has potential. It is awkward to get those damage counters on, as I said, to the active, but like it's an instant KO. It's very powerful.
Well, besides that, like if you're like sprinkling the damage counters with the Hollow Flame, right? Puts 3 on. You do 2 attacks with some of those. You can do it, but then it also has to be in the active to knock it out. So you have to gust it up. If your opponent knows that, they're going to keep it out of the active. So you need those pieces to make it happen. But
you do have Radiant Alakazam, though.
You do have that to move around.
Nice help.
Yeah, I think you probably need that. Kind of like we said before with Hisuian Samurott, the loss of some of the pinging options does hurt it, but it's it's definitely a solid option anyway. I haven't really messed around with it.
I don't think I played it either. Again, this is another like possible attack in Guard 4 as well.
Right. So yeah, it's okay. I would say that there's better options. Arceus Palkia, and what for me is going to be the next card to talk about, which is what was after Palkia on my list, and that's Dialga. So can we talk about that one? So Origin form Dialga V-Star, another super strong V-Star. Not quite as good as those top 2, but very good. 280 HP, Metal type. Metal Blast for 1 energy does 40 damage and 40 more for each metal energy attached. So just get 1 metal on and you do 80 damage. I think that's all you're looking for. Oh, wait, that's not very good, is it? So you got to get a bunch of energy onto it to make the attack pay off. So that's one downside to it, but you'll get there eventually. But then the start maybe, or you might lose first, but you might. But then, and if you get a whole lot of energy, you get 5 energy on, 4 of which are metal. Then you can do the Star Chronos V-Star power, which is super good, super fun to do. It does 220 damage, which is okay. You can knock out a V Pokemon if that's what your opponent set up for you. Hopefully they did. But then after that turn, you get to take another turn right after it. So that's really good, right? So you hopefully knock out a V Pokemon or EX with your Star Chronos, and then take another attack. And by that point, you have a whole lot of energy. You have like 6 or 7 energy, so you can kind of blow up like a V Max or something the next turn. So it's very fun when it gets going. It's obviously a lot of work to get going, though, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the bigger ones. It's kind of crazy, but. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting. You have Magnezone as it's powered up, so like, and it's all right.
Well, I think it's back-to-back turns with one of them being 220, and then the next turn being even higher damage is very good, right? If they made it too easy, if the energy cost was lower, it would be too good. So I think they set it about right. It's difficult to do. It's kind of high rolly. And I think that's fair for a card like this.
Yeah, and we see Dialga do things like this all the time with like time manipulation or something, but yeah, it's I don't know. It's one that's like kind of I don't like the deck. It's not fun. Like you either complete like the player who's not playing Dialga is just winning all game, and then either one, the Dialga player literally never does anything the whole game, or all of a sudden they just kind of win. Or they stall out. Like Dialga can like run out of resources. You have like 2 turns worth of attack. Well, and if you you can just like die. It's the deck that played like a 2/2 Dialga line.
Yeah. And sometimes you just run out of Dialgas, and then you couldn't take that last prize card. I've had that. I mean, look, I think I know we're not ranking them as such, but at this point, I'd probably put it as the 3rd best card, the ones that we've seen. Because it's a strong deck, right?
Wait,
you have Arceus and Palkia are the top 2, I think, and this is I don't know any of the others made a deck in and of themselves. This definitely is a deck, a viable
Darkrai,
I guess. This is better than Darkrai, I would argue, but it doesn't. It's okay, but even if it's not, it's still in the top 10% or so of what we've done. It's a solid card. Can we agree to that?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, let's talk about Soon Decidueye V-Star.
Yep.
So this one's interesting. This one is actually, I'd say, better than Dialga. It did win the World Championships
Well,
on the
not by
ADP deck.
itself, but okay.
It was a hard carry the deck. No. Soon Decidueye V-Star, 270 HP fighting. So fighting colors, you do 160. And then you can discard up to 3 energy from your hand, doing 30 more for each energy discarded, which honestly is a very steep cost for not a lot of damage. So you'll generally just be doing 160. Actually 140 because you'll have a double turbo. But then you just then you can hit Arceus for weakness, and you also have very solid V-Star power, which is draw till you have 8 cards as an ability. Yeah, I think this one's like all around all right, but then because of it's a very easy tech option and can be very good at times.
Yeah, I mean, its typing is what makes it good, right? Because partly it was in the World Championship deck to counter, right, other Arceus decks because its V-Star attack would one-shot the opposing Arceus V-Star. But if you ignore the weakness, Arceus V-Star is just better, right? 10 more HP, does more damage to the attack, accelerating 3 energies, that's better. Its V-Star power, any 2 cards is probably better than drawing till you have 8. But, it's useful in situations.
Yeah. I don't think there's too much to say about it, though. Next up, I don't know. What do you have?
I have Mewtwo V-Star.
Oh, I also have Mewtwo listed.
Oh, yeah. And now I just say for listeners, we've done our sort exact same way. We really tried to get these to match up. So the deck builder is just a little wonky, I think, is what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. So I'll say it does.
Yeah.
It does 90. Just get up to 3 psychic energy from your Pokemon. And anyway, like you do 90 for each energy discard in this way. So up to 270. And then Star Raid, Psychic Colorless. This does 120 to each of your opponent's Pokemon in V. It's also not affected by weakness or resistance. So Psy Purge is I think all right. It's actually pretty solid. That's a good attack.
Yeah, I mean 270, very repeatable, and you do get this in the one starter deck, right? The Lunatone Soul Rock starter deck that everybody
which
has
is probably
now.
how you'd play Mewtwo V-Star because you need to be able to recover the energy. You could do could also do Gardevoir EX though.
Right, you have options, but everyone has it. That is one way to do it, and it sets it up at 270. Of course, you're 10 short of knocking out other of a VMAX generally, so that's not
V-Star.
Vstar, yes, correct. So other Vstar, yeah, sorry about that. So you need Choice Belt then, depending. But 270 is a solid number that's easily repeatable. You're not necessarily getting one shot. Star Raid has some value at times, right? 120. If you're up against like a Mew deck, just doing 120 damage to like 6 Vs on one turn makes it difficult for your opponent to navigate the rest of the game.
I mean, you can do like 700 damage with it, but like most of the damage is just kind of useless because it's Pokemon you're never going to attack again.
Right, but they have a hard time hiding then.
Yeah, it's an attack that like is so scary to get hit by, but then it kind of just doesn't do anything after that. I feel like so. It's I don't know. It doesn't have synergy with the rest of it either. It feels kind of out of place in my opinion. And I honestly wonder if there's a way to capitalize on this. But I don't know. And there are less Vs now as well, so
yeah,
it's not as good.
Yeah, so it's playable certainly. The starter deck is certainly one way to go, and like you said, Gardevoir could put this in. There probably has better options there, but it's usable.
Yeah. Next up is Drapion.
I have Dragonite.
Wait, what? No, we talked about Dragonite already.
Oh, that's right. You jumped that ahead. All right. Well, Drapion's not is like way down the list for me. It's on the next row for me. But you want to talk Drapion?
Yeah, Drapion V-Star. Okay, so its attack. I've never seen this used, but Dark Colorless. It does 250, but 10 less for each damage count on this Pokemon.
Yeah.
Pretty. And then there's a V-Star power. Is your opponent's active is paralyzed and poisoned, and instead of getting 10 damage counters for poison, they get 1. They get 3.
Yeah.
Notably, this sees play because you used to see like actually a solid chunk of play. Its V-Star power is like all right, pretty fine. But then Drapion V is an amazing counter to Mew.
Right.
In fact, like the best probably counter to Mew right now. Spiritom's also very good, but that's banned. So Drapion V is a great counter move, and you can chuck in a V-Star if you're playing it. Say like Urshifu VMAX used to play this before 4 Steel Stone, but now I'd say 4 Steel Stone is probably better.
Yeah, I mean, Drapion V gets a good amount of play. It's not very common to me that I've seen a Drapion Vstar put in a deck. I know I haven't messed around with it. Doing 250 for 3 and then isn't, if it did 280 for 3 with the reduction based on damage, you could possibly play it, but at 250, it's hard to get excited about it, I got to say.
Yeah. No, it's like compared to the other 2 Dark V-Stars, it's kind of underwhelming.
And compared to the V it evolves from, right? It's just much better.
Yeah, I think it's the only V-Star that the V is better than. It might be. I'm not sure.
It might be. And I'll just mention, on the deck builder in live, you can't see the evolutions. You could in PTCGO. So if you wanted to check something like this quickly, you cannot, unfortunately. So that's hopefully Pokemon puts that in because it is useful to just get the evolution cards when you're putting together a deck or see what they are if you're thinking about it. Just that's an aside.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you have next?
So the one after Dragonite was Hisuian Zoroark V-Star. Are we
I got that. I mean, I got it somewhere down there.
Shall we hit that then? So
sure.
I played with this some. When it first came out, and I think it was a free deck on in live before the beta went global, I think. So Hisuian Zoroark V-Star 270 HP, so that's fine. And then Tickling Curse for 2 colorless. It does 50 damage for each of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So you could have 6 Pokemon in play. So that's 300 that you pay for it, probably with a DTE. So 280. So you're one-shotting essentially any V-Star Pokemon. That's what it was doing when it came out. And 280 is still obviously a very solid number to do for 1 energy attachment. So very viable. You need obviously the pieces to get it set up, but it's not that crazy. There are the cards that came out with the set to make that work. And then Phantom Star, V-Star Power, with its ability. During your turn, you may discard your hand and draw 7 cards. So that's quite nice. It's a very good V-Star Power. It's essentially a free research.
I think this one's like a strong card. It's one of the better V-Stars we've seen. It's probably very well maybe the worst colorless V-Star, but it's pretty good. I don't know, like it's putting because you have to damage yourself. That's one. It's a bit awkward, but 2, like there are a lot of spread decks, and then damaging yourself just isn't good. So it's okay. I think it was a contender. It still kind of is, but I thought it was going to be very good because it could like one shot anything. It wasn't quite able to get there. And full expanded, it's actually quite good though.
Yeah, I mean, even
as there are many of these.
It has that potential to one-shot your opponent's V on turn 2 on a decent amount of the time. So, and that's limited to the decks that can do that. Now, you're vulnerable because you've damaged all your Pokemon in the process, but it's definitely an okay card. It's a playable card, which they all are not.
Yeah, like Aerodactyl.
Yes, is that the one you're doing next?
No, but sure. Let's do Aerodactyl. Okay. That's not my next one.
Not mine either. So
so it is banned in live.
Yes.
Because it like crashes the game supposedly. I don't actually know how you crash the game with this card. The idea is that you like return to your hands, but
I don't know how you get it out of play though, right?
Yeah. But anyways, first of all, this one actually is very good in my opinion. This is one of the best. So 260 HP, not great, but then for fighting colorless, again, that attack cost, that's common, that's payable, not the best, but not the worst. Then it does 240.
Yep.
And keep in mind, that's a good amount of damage to hit, and it's a good weakness to hit. And then you put the top 3 cards of your neck and lost them, which is not good, right?
Right, this deck doesn't want that.
Well, no deck wants that. Well, I guess Lost on decks do, but like...
Yeah.
You could put this in Lost on next. You can play Lost on Aerodactyl.
You could. I mean, but generally you're not, right? I haven't seen that.
I have not seen that. But then that's pretty good. Honestly, this attack is very good. I played it, and it's because I mentioned there's the Arceus V-Star with Hisuian Decidueye and Flank Pikachu. That deck won the World Championship. And then that was given out free on ladder. If you have that, you can just swap out Hisuian Decidueyes for Aerodactyls. I think you gotta. You can't do that, but if you could, that would be good. I
Yes.
played that deck for a while. It was like my go-to deck. It was very strong. And then you have this amazing V-Star Power, which is an attack that becomes an ability that says until it leaves play, it has the ability your opponent's Pokemon V in play, except Aerodactyl V-Star, have no abilities. It's a slightly weaker version of Path to the Peak. Now with the EXs, it's noticeably weaker, but it's still quite good.
Well, it was in a sense when Lugia ruled the world, and it did, even more so on live because they gave the deck out for free. If you could set up your Aerodactyl V-Star first, you lock them out of getting their Aerodactyls on the board for the game potentially. So Archeops, sorry, yes, thank you. So
wrong cost.
Yes. So right, so it was very good in that regard for the V-Star Power. And certainly,
and also another thing I want to say why it's better than Decision Decidueye is weak to grass. And pretty much all the grass Pokemon in the game have been bad for like ever. So
yes.
not forever, but a lot of them have been very bad. So
right.
Yeah, it's nice to have not like Decidueye weak to Psychic. So that was annoying.
Right. So it's a viable card. It has a place in some decks. It certainly did in the past. It probably still deserves some play, I would think.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, the next card, which we've skipped over for me, is one that likes the Lost Armor. That's Giratina Vstar. So you okay with doing that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so 280 HP, Dragon type, so no weakness. So a tanky Pokemon, and this is a big attacking one. This might be the biggest attacking one of all the Vstars. It does 280 damage for Grass, Psychic, Colorless. You usually play it either with Arceus or with Lost Zone. And then when you attack 280, you put 2 energy cards from your Pokemon into the Lost Zone. It doesn't have to be from this Arceus V-Star. So
Giratina V-Star.
This Giratina.
If you were playing Arceus, you can just like Lost Zone only one double turbo energy, which is nice.
Yes, right. Because if you're playing a Lost Zone engine, which you're not playing the DTE, it's 2 energies, but you want to get the 10 into the Lost Zone because it's V-Star power. If you thought 280 was good, then it's got Star Requiem V-Star power,
which does 0 damage.
Does 0 damage, but it only takes 2 energy, Grass and Psychic. But you use it. You have to have 10 cards in the Lost Zone, so that's a lot. But you'll get there, right? Because people use Sableye, so that means you can use Giratina V-Star's V-Star power, and then your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out, so no damage done. So if you're trying to do that type of challenge, no help there. But knocking out any Pokemon, so you can one-shot the tankiest VMAX in the game with this. So quite nice V-Star power.
Yeah. This is like definitely one of the best. I'd say it's the 4th best. And generally people would probably say that. With like Arceus, Lugia, Palkia, then Giratina, I imagine would be what maybe people would say. It's very good in Lost Zone and Arceus. It's strong. It doesn't one-shot everything, but that's what people start popping in Cleansing Gloves to like one-shot Mews and Gardevoirs. And then, it's very strong, right?
Yeah, right. It's been a strong deck, both as Lost Zone decks and in the Arceus build. So it's a strong, it just does a lot of damage, and obviously that's always got potential.
Yeah, and then the other dragon, is this the next one for you?
No, it's not, but we can go to that.
Okay, yeah. So Hisuian Goodra V-Star is you like this one, I like this one. Yeah. It's a dragon again with 270 HP, but we talked about this earlier for Water Metal Colorless on the V-Star. You do 200, not amazing, but not awful. With the choice ability, you can one-shot Vs, and then you take 80 less damage next turn, which makes you essentially impossible to one-shot, especially because you're a dragon-type Pokemon with no weakness, and then you have an amazing ability that says you can heal all damage from this Pokemon. And then keep in mind, this is played in essentially the same way usually as either with Giratina, with either Arceus
or Lost Zone.
Yeah.
Right, and I like the Lost Zone build a little better because partly with Arceus, you often would use Arceus's V-Star power, and you want to be able to use Goodra's V-Star power for one thing. And just the Lost Zone's a good engine and a good attacking setup, but you can go either way. And I like tanky decks, and this meets that requirement. It's water, metal. Giratina being psychic allowed it to pair with Sableye. I usually don't like 3 energy types, but obviously people do that. But then having the water, you can Melanie to it also, which I think is a plus with a V Star that takes water energy. So
yeah, and also water is the same type as Radiant Greninja.
Yeah.
So that fits very easily into the deck.
Yeah.
Although you don't always play it because you sometimes want to play Radiant Gardevoir, or Radiant Serena, but ignore that.
Right. But yeah, but it opens up that option. So yeah, another solid Pokemon. And yeah, it might even be better than Dialga, I guess, as we're putting Pokemon ahead of that, at least in my mind. So, but good.
So
So
do you have Magnezone?
I do. This is like going back. This is right after Giratina. But yes, Magnezone Vstar, 270 HP, lightning type. It's got magnetic grip, does 180 damage for 3, lightning colorless, and you search your deck for up to 2 item cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, shuffle your deck. So that's quite nice, right? So 180, it's doing essentially the same damage as Arceus, assuming they had a DTE and you don't.
Well, Magnezone might also have a DTE. So
I know. So it's doing 10, 20 less than that. And but you're searching for 2 items every time you attack is quite nice. Of course, there is Judge and Iono, but you hope you don't hit that. And then the V-Star power is an attack Electro Star. It does 90 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon for 2 lightning energy, which is good. Of course, you can do it with a single prize Radiant Greninja also. So is this, how strong is it? It's an option though. The Pokemon's okay, I guess is what I'd say.
Yeah, it's like a fun one. Honestly, I play this one actually quite a bit. It's like it's not great, but searching for items is okay. But right now, items just aren't that good. Like they're good, but I don't know. We do have Quick Ball and
right.
I don't know. It's okay. I think it's like a cool, well-rounded one that honestly probably should see play at some point. And it saw play in Miraidon, right? People are playing like a 1/1 of this.
You could put it in, right? If the 180.
That was like surprisingly common, I think.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I played Miraidon. I think I messed with it a little, but generally I've stayed away from it. And obviously at this point, Iono's pretty heavily played too. Because getting 6 cards early game is almost as good as researching for 7, and for a lot of decks you don't want to discard. So I know I'm playing a lot of Iono, as are other people too. So that hurts that draw a bit, that search ability. So it's okay, but I just say that just that. So let's think. So we did Aerodactyl. That's next on my list, right? Skipping that, we did that. And did we do Drapion yet?
Should be done with all the ones from Lost Origin, right?
And we did Drapion and Gudra, and yes, the next card I have is Unknown. I don't know where you are.
It's what?
Unknown V-Star is what I have next. Then, what do you have?
No, I don't. I'm a while, but let's talk Unknown. So Unknown, it's okay. So first of all, Unknown V has an attack that says, last time, or was this last podcast? I said Unknown V is like there's this Unknown V Fortress deck. That doesn't work, so ignore that. But pretty much what it does is if you only have 1 prize remaining, you just win, which is like fine, but like really like it's 3 energy, so you could just like KO something and win anyway. But Unknown V-Star here for 1 psychic does 70. You flip 3 coins, 70 for each head. So this isn't awful, averaging out at what's it?
70.
So 125. I don't remember.
Or 105 is it?
105. Yeah. And then
so that's not great.
That's okay. Like you could Cheryl, but it's HP is low, so it's only 250.
Right.
And then you have
you're flipping coins. So if it was like consistent 105, but instead it's like going to jump all around. So that makes it tough to play too.
But then you have this unique V-Star power, again, kind of like Aerodactyl, where you get an ability until the Pokemon Leaf play. It has an ability that says the weakness of each opponent's Pokemon in play is now Psychic, which is obviously like good, but it just probably dies after you use that.
Right, because it's its attack, it's not its ability, so it's staying in the active. So you need to set things up. You need to have 3 energy on it and not get knocked out. So it's tough to see who would want to play it. I mean, like something like Gardevoir EX, I guess. Obviously, Psychic Weak would be great for the rest of the game, but even there, I don't think you could consider it. It's just too vulnerable of a card.
Yeah. Although it does have the best art of any V-Star probably, because it like says V-Star. Although I was gonna say it's right to left. Is that because it's originally Japanese? But then I don't no that doesn't make any sense. Are the
I,
Japanese unknown? Do they have the English letters as the Japanese unknown, or is it like
hmm.
Japanese characters as the unknown? It's I think it's the English letters still. It's
Yeah,
probably just
I
for
don't know.
stylistic choice, but yes, but I think this is definitely the coolest art of any V Star, like regular art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is nice, and it's spelling out the name is a plus. So I do like it. It's just it's the art's better than it is a playable card. I think
Yeah, they made like the captcha test into like a card art.
All right, so yeah, so probably not the card you're playing. This one we have is Mawile V Star the next one then.
Yeah, so Marvel V Star is another Psychic V Star, with 10 more HP now, massive 260. So it's actually one of my favorite V Stars, although I haven't played it much. But have I played it at all? I guess not. I don't own any copies of it, so I probably haven't played it.
Yeah.
But for 2 colors on the V Star, you do 90. But if you moved into the active, you do 180. Which for all of you fans of Glaciopod Glaciopod GX, or I guess suppose Rapstrike Urshifu VMAX. That's kind of similar. You could power this up with the double turbo to be hitting 160 for
Yep.
only 1 energy, which isn't bad. And then you have actually a very solid V-Star power, which is kind of like Guzma. It says you can V-Star power if it's on your bench, you can switch a Marvel into the active and then guess one of your opponent's Pokemon up. So I think this one's pretty solid. I said when it was revealed, I think this will see play. I still stand by that, I guess.
It hasn't happened yet, though, has it?
No, it hasn't yet, but I think it's good. It's pretty cool. It's versatile, and could be played in tons of decks. It's not that strong though.
No, and 260 HP. I don't know. It's not getting me excited to try it out. I will say that, but
Okay, I think it's cool.
Then you need to make a video on it, right, and make it a thing.
Yeah. Okay. Next, I have Superior.
Yes, I do also. So
okay. So Superior V Star as another one. Oh, this is one of the starter decks.
Yep.
And it's interesting, I guess. So it does 190 for grass, colorless, and then you may move your energy around it any way you like. You also have a V-Star power. Oh, it does free retreat as well, which is kind of nice. For grass, 1 grass on the V-Star, although you want more energy. It does 60 future energy attached to this Pokemon, kind of like Whimsicott or like Deoxys or whatever, and then switch it to the bench so it's hit and run.
Right.
It's fine. There aren't really any good hit and run targets right now. They're all banned or like bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure what
This Mimikyu. Would you like?
Yeah, I mean, you could pair it with Mimikyu, I guess, but and of course that's just once per game because it's V-Star power. So it is in the starter deck, so I've played it. You've probably played it some too. 190 for 3 is kind of standard. Being able to move energy around is nice. The fact that it retreats to the bench from the 1 attack, it's interesting, but it's kind of awkward to get it to work right, I would say. So because you need a lot of energy to get it set up at that point and all, and just getting there isn't easy. So like we said before, grass isn't particularly strong, and this falls in that mold too, I think.
Yeah. Next, and I think there are like a lot of grass V-Stars. Maybe there aren't that many. No, there's 4, and they're all bad. So yeah.
Leafeon, Shaman, Lilligant, and Superior.
Yeah. Next up, though, I have Alolan Vulpix V-Star. I clicked on the wrong one. Is that what you have next?
Yep, I do.
Nice. Let's go. So yeah, this one's also real. Okay. Well, yeah, you've been playing this one, and I play this one, but tell us about it.
Yeah. So 240 HP. So this is, I believe, the lowest HP of any of the V-Stars out there. So that's not what I like about it. But the Snow Mirage attack for 3 energy, water, colorless. And again, water works with Melanie, so that certainly fits in a deck like this. 160 damage, so not the most damage either. Okay, HP low, damage levels low, but then what happens with the attack, this attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon, so if your opponent is playing Mimikyu or something, you don't have to worry about that, so that's nice. But then also, during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from Pokemon that have an ability. And there's a lot of Pokemon with abilities out there, right? If you're playing the Chen Pao deck, basically all the attackers have abilities. if they're playing Gardevoir EX, for the most part, all the Pokemon have abilities. So it is a nice counter to some of the more common decks out there.
Watch out for Ralts, though. No, actually, Ralts will cause problems, but hopefully they don't see that.
So yeah, with the memory skip.
Yeah, that'll not be great. But you get through effects, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's if Mimikyu becomes more popular, hitting through effects will maybe become necessary at some point. And being immune, it's just that idea of being immune to a Pokemon with abilities walls off a lot of decks. So I think I found it a useful card, a good attacker. And then Silvery Snow, its V-Star power and attack for
Silvery Snow Star.
Oh, yes, you're right. It all has to have star in the name. And it has no energy cost. So this is, I think, the only one with no energy cost for the attack. It does 70 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon V in play. So
against Mew, this just like one-shots anything.
Right, and it isn't affected by weakness or resistance.
Which is bad.
It is.
Because nothing resists water.
Right. So, I mean, there's not a lot of fire, so it's not that big a deal. But right, so against Mew, it's very nice. You don't, this is just as good as Drapion there, right? You can only do it once per game, and it's an evolution. But so it's a Pokemon I think that has a place in some decks.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's like you could play with Arceus or Palkia, or other stuff, I guess. Yeah, it's honestly like a very good Pokemon. When you talk about text, you talk about Aerodactyl, soon Decidueye, Alolan Vulpix 100% belongs on that list as well for the useful text.
Yeah, I mean, I played it mostly in Arceus. It's a pretty straightforward deck to play that is good against some of the top decks between Arceus and Alolan Vulpix. And as I'm thinking here, put a 1/1 line in Chen Pao to deal with the mirror, because there are a lot of Chen Pao decks out there. It could have some use there.
Yeah. Now what do you have next?
Next, I have Regidrago V-Star.
Yeah.
All right, so this one is 280 HP. So again, the HP you want to be for the most part, and it's Dragon types with no resistance. And Dragon type, it has two energies in its cost. It's Grass, Fire. So we can use Gardenia's Vigor again. Hooray! The day is saved. Apex Dragon. You choose an attack from a Dragon Pokemon in your discard pile and use it for this attack. So reminiscent of the Mewtwo and Mew GX, right?
Yeah, it is. I'd say it's it's worse because you can't like use their attack cost though.
Right, you're paying your attack cost every time, so which could be better, right? Then you know what energies you need.
Yeah, and expanded, like there are some like absurdly expensive Dragon Pokemon attack costs that are like 5. So it's good there, but most of them are like 3. But at least because Dragon Pokemon have like all sorts of weird energy attack costs, you can play Sungoodra V-Star, Giratina V-Star, which we both talked about, Duraludon VMAX, I guess. There are a few. Oh, Northern EX as well is very good.
Yeah,
so it has versatility.
I mean, there's options. There are a number of good dragon attackers, I think. So it's a viable deck. Getting the energy on consistently is not easy. I mentioned Gardenia's Vigor, which is a way to do it, but Gardenia's Vigor just hasn't proven to be very workable. And some way you have to keep getting this energy on. And if you're copying like Giratina's V-Star attack, then you're discarding energies from play. So then you've got to, it's not easy in that regard.
You can use Dragonite's V-Star, Dragonite's attack. There's a Dragonite that powers up other Pokemon. And of course, you got the best EX out there, Fortress EX. So power up your guys down.
That's true. I haven't built that one yet, so you're inspiring me here. And then
people have played it. It's bad. Don't play that. Especially if you have this stuff, it's fine, but.
Yeah, I think I have the card, so I can give it a try. But then the V-Star power is Legacy Star. It's an ability, which is very good. During a turn, you may discard the top 7 cards of your deck, put up to 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. So it's not restricted to the 7 cards you discarded. It could be cards already in the discard pile. So get cards in the discard pile, which of course you want to do for attackers, and then put any 2 cards from the discard pile into your hand. It is a very nice option too. So it's a good V-Star power, I think, in the deck.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not great, but it's there. It's a decent option, I guess, as far as things go.
Yeah, and then speaking of decent options for V-Star powers, we have next up, we have Lugia V-Star.
Okay, yep, so do I. Good.
So that's all right. Its attack, I think we can skip its attack for now. Its V-Star power is like really like insane.
Yes.
It just lets you put 2 colors Pokemon that don't have rule boxes from your discard pile straight onto your bench. These are going to be Archeops. That is the only good Pokemon that meets those requirements, which is kind of sad. I mean, Good Barrel is kind of okay, but yeah. So you can put Archeops, which just pretty much just accelerates special energy from your deck. And then pre-rotation, this was like so absurd because you can do like anything because you had Aurora energy and powerful colorless energy. And Lugia's V-Star's attack, regular attack, does 220 for 4 colorless. Then you can discard a stadium and play, which can be useful, I suppose. But yeah, then you can just power this up really easily, honestly.
Yeah.
And then it's useful with single strike now or like just colorless. It's not that good now. It's borderline top 10, but
yeah, I mean
pre-rotation was insane.
Yeah, it was probably the best deck around before rotation. Rotation hurt it a lot. It's not dead, but it's not as strong as it was. But it's certainly one of the stronger V-Star Pokemon and a strong deck still.
Yeah.
All right, so next I have Simisear V-Star.
Oh yeah, I have Simisear as well.
All right, so
everybody's Ember Power, I know, is a big fan of Simisear, but yeah, this one's bad. Its attack does for fire colorless. It's kind of like Flareon VMAX, but which is bad. So you discard the top 5 up to the top 5 because your deck. Actually, this isn't that similar, but it does 40 more for each card discarded in this way, and it does 40 base. So you can hit up to 240. Honestly, this one's not as bad as I thought it was, but it's still like bad. You don't really want to mill the top 5 cards of your deck.
Not usually.
Just do it's like a really bad version of Giratina V-Star, I'd say. Its V-Star power is actually all right. It does 30 for each energy in your discard pile for only 1 fire, which is very solid. And you can pay this with Magma Base and stuff, but it's not great.
No, and in the HP, I don't think it mentions 260, so it's on the low side there. And obviously, water is certainly prevalent today, so it's not great. I do like fire decks. Could try putting in like a 1/1 line or something, maybe in a fire deck. But then with a deck where you want to have a lot of energy in the deck, right? So it's probably an energy-heavy deck, which usually doesn't make for the most consistent decks around. So to use that Ember Star V-Star power at some point in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what do you have next up?
So I have Rotom Vstar.
Yeah. It's your boy.
Yeah, I actually haven't played this yet because I haven't picked it up yet. But it's a build off of the Rotom V. So Rotom Vstar, 250 HP, Lightning type, so low on the HP. It's got Scrap Pulse for 2 Lightning energy, does 80 damage plus. Put any number of Pokemon tool cards from the discard pile into the Lost Zone, and it does 40 more per tool put in the Lost Zone that way. So you get to choose how many you want. You do the math, figure out how many you need to move over there. So 80 plus 40 more. So you can get things up to be one-shotting things. The change of tools to not being items anymore impacts this deck probably in a positive way. If you want to use something like Pokestop for discarding to get them there, it might hurt for other things. If you're searching for an item, you don't get the tool with it, so it's plus and minus. And then Conversion Star ability, during your turn, you can use this ability and discard any number of cards in your hand, so that's good, and then draw that many cards. So you can decide how many cards you want to keep from your hand, dump the rest, and draw that many to replace them. So not bad. And of course, you want to get those tools in the discard pile. So an ability that makes sense with this attacker. So it's okay. 250 HP is not great. And as the game goes on, I found with Rotom V, you got to be careful because if you run out of tools in your discard pile, then you really can't do anything.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
No. I think it's not that good.
I think it's fun. Is what I'll say.
Okay. Next up, we have Zeraora V-Star. Okay. I'll say Rotom V is actually very good.
Didn't we do Zeraora already?
Oh, we did. Yeah. Anyways, what?
Yeah, I had it under the promos.
Okay. Anyway, so Rotom also, it's like the V's good for control. And you could play the V-Star in control as well, I guess, but probably not. And next, okay, I have Zacian then.
Okay, I have Regigigas.
Okay, we'll talk about Zacian.
Yeah, Zacian should be next, number order. So
Zacian is interesting because it has an attack here that like hits the effects, and also has a V-Star power that like does big damage. But I don't even know what the Metal Zacian. What is the Metal Zacian V?
I don't remember because I don't think I own it.
If you played this, you played it with the other Zacian because that was like
right.
So
I did play it with the old Zacian for rotation because that obviously made sense. Now that's a big hit, right? The fact that the Zacian V isn't particularly strong. I'll have to look it up at some point, but not right now. It's not easy to do in this thing. So, but 270 HP, in the break edge for 3 energy, metal, colorless, and like you said, it hits through effects, so that's good. And does Star Sword does 310 damage, so that's quite good. So it can one shot a Mew VMAX or a Gardevoir EX, right? So that's good. It does 30 damage to itself, but for 310 damage, that's okay. But getting it,
I think this one's like whatever. It's pretty generic. It's just like good for generic, but it's still generic.
Yeah, I mean it's not an unplayable card, but it's not one I'm getting real excited about.
Yeah. And then we have the other doggo.
Zamazenta Vstar.
And this one I actually think is good. It's Vstar. It's regular attacks, can just like Zacians or Miraidons or whatever. It's 220 for Metal colorless. It can't attack next turn, which is whatever. But then you have an absolutely insane V-Star power. In my opinion, you can only once during your turn you can use this ability. During your opponent's next turn, all of your Pokemon take 100 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. So that's pretty good. That's I don't know. That's just like so scary to have to deal with because now all of a sudden you can like if you're playing something like Crystal Cave, you can heal up a bit more, and essentially you're just not gonna die.
Yeah, I mean you're buying an extra turn almost all the time in the game, right? So now obviously it's your V-Star power that could be doing something more useful to get set up. I always think about that as the trade-off. But 100 less damage, and now it doesn't matter if you evolve or anything like that either, or switch Pokemon, or your opponent gusts you. Oh no, you can't evolve; it's the next turn, right? But if your opponent gusts you up or something, the effects still hold. So that makes it pretty unique there. I don't think anything else has that aspect to it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Fantina, actually. It's very similar to that. But that only stopped with Vs. So.
Right. But, as you said, it's similar to like a Miraidon EX, which is just easier to pull off. So I'm still not thrilled about it as an option, I got to say.
Yeah, and I suppose Miraidon isn't very good. So Zamazenta also isn't that good. Okay, let's talk about the last Pokemon here. Right?
Yep. Yeah, Regigigas Vstar, which is the tankiest one, 300 HP. It's the only one, I believe, over 280.
Yeah. Although, like, Gudra does essentially have more HP, but whatever.
Right.
So this is actually very similar again, but it's all colors. So 3 colors during your 230 during your next turn. It can attack, but that's like a solid chunk of damage for only colorless. Perfect partner for gardenias. No, probably for I don't know. You compare this with a lot of things. It seems okay.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't tried it, and I honestly haven't seen a lot of people trying it out. But 230, obviously, you're doing 10. I mean, 10 more is nice, but 10 more than the ones. There's a number of options at 220. So is it better than those options? I'm not sure. Obviously, 300 HP is nice, right? A tanky guy there for sure. And then the V-Star Power Star Guardian. During your turn, if your opponent has exactly 1 prize card remaining, you may choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. They discard that Pokemon and all attached cards to it. So potential, your opponent has one, we'll say 1 on the bench, 1 in the active. You can make your opponent get rid of a bench Pokemon and then knock out the active for games. Doesn't matter how many prizes you've taken before that point. So interesting.
I think more likely though, because like if they're not going to just like take all their Pokemon out of play, but they'll probably have like say against Chien-Pao Baxcalibur, and they have 2 Baxcaliburs in play. Normally that's just like get Baxcaliburs there for the rest of the game, but no, you can then get rid of the one on the bench, KO the one in the active, and now they'd have no no back calibers,
caliber.
and then you should be able to win from there. It depends on the situation, but I think Regigigas Vstar is actually pretty good. I think it's better than. I think it's the best colorless Vstar. No, I don't think it's the best colorless Vstar. But I think it's the third best colorless Vstar. I don't think it's last. It might be last. I'm not sure.
What are the four then?
It's Histurian Zoroark is the other one.
Oh,
I think Regigigas Vstar is better than Histurian Zoroark Vstar, but that's not like saying that much. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. It's certainly seen less play. It's interesting. Obviously, like you can get rid of an Archeops from play, and your opponent's not going to be able to get it back into play. Like a Lugia deck. I guess you'd pair it with Arceus.
Well, probably not. It's at the end of the game, so you probably.
That's true. So at that point, it doesn't matter.
I wouldn't pair with Arceus because I've seen it paired with Arceus, but I wouldn't.
How you
I don't know. I think
yeah.
Well, you can just Melanie. You can play it like Arceus, but just like Melanie double turbo, or you could do you could do Bronzong, Cheryl. You could do Promise. You could do Vex Caliber. You could do Gardenias. You got all these like amazing options.
And the other thing is I'm looking at, we didn't mention, right? You can't attack the next turn, but Miraidon retreats for 1. This retreat cost is 4. So they're saying
pocket change.
So yeah, not a problem. You get the with Skaters Park, energy's going to hand. It's all good, right?
Yep.
You just get them reaccelerative. So they're really trying. They're making life difficult, right? When they put 4 at a retreat cost of 4, they're making a point. I mean
that's what Regigigas always has, but I don't know. So I think that's it. That's kind of long.
It is. And we went through a lot of cards, so it was going to be a little long. So hopefully, but these cards are still around for a while, right? So they're still, don't forget about them. Don't let the EXs chase these out of your mind and out of your decks. These Vstars are good cards. And they're going to be good for a while still. So, and as people play,
except for Dragonite Vstar, don't play that one. That was kind of bad.
Oh, yeah, you're a hater there, huh? So anyway, because people are going to forget about these, right? As more and more EXs come out, like by the end of the year, or even next year, a year from now, when most of the Vs have rotated, except all these are still in play. So, right, you can surprise your opponent down the road too. Besides playing them now, keep them in mind. That's my advice. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to say?
No, I don't know. Just I don't know. Don't play like, I don't know. Don't play like boring decks. I'm not looking to see like another Lugia play. And Lugia's actually not like that bad. Honestly, none of the V-Stars are like super overpowered right now. And Arceus is like still cool. So yeah. But yeah, V-Stars are cool. Nice mechanic. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say though. So we hope you enjoyed the podcast, though. It's been episode 23.
Yep.
Yeah. So check us out on Spotify, though. That'd be cool. Check us out on YouTube, 10 Types and Uncommon Fossil with 1M. And then, stay tuned for some cool videos, cool podcasts coming up soon.
Take care.